Welcome to Top Tier Talk. Stay tuned for insightful talks with top minds.
Hi Grant, how are you?
Prabhat, I'm well. And yourself?
Yeah, doing great. And Sydney is as usual, very good city. So I am enjoying.
Welcome to Sydney. Welcome to Australia.
Okay, thank you. So to begin with, we'll just understand your career path or maybe like IT experience.
Yep.
So it would be great if you can highlight your journey, IT journey.
Sure. So I started in the late 70s, early 80s. I was involved in food manufacturing in New Zealand. Had two restaurants and a food manufacturing business. And I needed technology in some parts of it, especially in the food manufacturing side.
Okay.
And went out to have a look, and there was nothing. So I decided, well, I could do something about that. So I bought myself a little PC, one of the very early days of it, when Tandy was around, Tandy TRS-80.
Okay.
And I started to find that there was no software. The only thing was a little spreadsheet, which was helpful,
Yeah.
but nothing else. So I decided I would do some programming. I learned to program. So in my spare time, other than when I was working in the restaurants or the food manufacturing, I went to a Polytech course. It was supposed to be for 2 years, and I managed to cram it into one.
Great.
And so I learned how to program, which was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. And then I sold the businesses because I knew I wanted to get into technology. And I came to Australia, and I got a job in the computer industry, but in the pharmacy, supplying computer systems into the pharmacy industry. And my territory was Australia.
Okay.
So I could go anywhere, do anything.
Okay.
Back in the days of where there were lots of margins and lots of money to be made in computers.
Okay. Yes. Back in that days.
There's a very simple analogy in the world, as I see it. Wherever there's mystery, there's margin.
Yes, there is money.
Yeah, there's money. There's money to be made.
Yes.
Because you're supplying a service that people can't generally get. So it's not a commodity. It's something that's special. Something that's different. So that's how I started. I got involved in. I was a national sales manager for a company called Computerland for a number of years here in Australia. I got involved in further development. I started in the early days of Clipper or DB3 and developed a whole range of software in that. Got involved in Lotus
Note,
Notes, Lotus Domino. IBM bought it and it became very popular, and I developed a whole range of applications in that. And then just carried on from there more or less and got into the current world where around 2010, 11, I decided that I wanted to develop my own products. I've been developing them for others specifically, but now I wanted to develop my own suite of programs that were specifically mine and my own. And so I started developing a thing called Haggle, which was a multi-tier marketing sales platform, buy-sell platform. And that's when
we joined
in that particular situation. I think we met in 2008.
I think you were working in Opera Australia.
Yes, I had a contract CIO business, and the largest client I had was Opera Australia, a company that performs, manufactures, and puts on operas. And I think the first thing we did was with the company you were employed with for ticketing.
Tessitura ticketing we have worked, right?
Yeah, that was the first project we did together. So been involved in a lot of IT over a lot of years, and in various roles across the whole, but all sides of the table really. So a bit of experience. Sometimes it brings with it some wisdom.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So you are lately, I think, involved in the MDM, Master Data Management, and you have another product called Symphony. It's not product, basically it's a platform. Right?
It's a platform as a service. It's a product information manager. Most people would know it as a PIM. Product information manager. But when I explained that once to somebody, they just looked at me sideways and said, "No, it's not a PIM. It's not a PIM. It's much more than that." And it is. The difference is that in a supply chain where a product is comes from raw materials into the manufacturers. Manufacturers make something. The manufacturer sends it to a wholesaler or a distributor. Distributor sends it to a retailer. Retailer, whether it's bricks and mortar or e-commerce, then makes it available to the client. The client uses it or consumes it, and the process starts over again. So there's a lot of stakeholders in that chain, the supply chain. Historically, they all had their own databases.
Yes, that's very confusing and very difficult to...
duplication plus.
So it's kind of field to plate, you are just...
Get to plate.
Get to plate, field to plate, whatever. In the coming years, we are seeing that there are a lot of changes in the technologies or like the adaptation towards AI, generative AI. What is your perspective on that?
Well, Symphony has always had a component of machine learning, definitely, and it started out with some, us doing some POCs on AIs of the various genre of AIs, and obviously they're now like any emerging technology. It starts as a group of something, and then gets specialist, and it starts to divvy off into the specialist areas. So there are a bunch of AI specialist areas, and depending on what you want to do or need to do. The ones that we've been looking at initially were natural language models, because a lot of what was happening in our world was products were described in so many different ways. We started in the beverage industry, and so you could take a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, and it could have hundreds of connotations of different names: JD, Jack's, Jack Daniel's whiskey. Then you've got all the attributes of the product, and depending on which part of the world, different alcohol levels, different measuring ways of measuring it, whether it's milliliters or centiliters or
and packaging also.
So you can have one product it's multi-personality, it's multi-attribute. We looked at one toothpaste that was made here in Australia, for example, and there were 27 of the same products in one database, a commonly used database here worldwide. Same product, exactly. So with the real product, please stand up. Which one of those 27 was the real?
And everybody will say,
"Oh, that one was, no, that one." So we've solved that problem by encouraging a single point of truth, MDM, Master Data Management, single point of truth, golden records, and being able to share those across the supply chain, so that you don't duplicate, you don't replicate, you have a single point, and you hang as much of that information available to the supply chain by a set of business rules. So our engine, for example, has a smart set of business rules to do a bunch of different things, whether it's validating inputs or making information available to the various stakeholders in the supply chain. So AI really, in a world that has so many descriptors, so many attributes for a product, finding a product that fits certain needs, or being able to input stuff into your own database where you want to get a price that's accurate, for example. How do you compare a JD with a Jack Daniel's that's 750 ml in one country, 0.75 of a centiliter in another country? It's got an alcohol content of 43% in this country, but it's only got 39 in another country.
That's actually really funny sometimes, but same time it's very difficult to manage the data, right?
Severely. And then you get the fact that in Australia, for example, we have this wonderful thing called alcopop tax, which means that the moment they mix a bit of alcohol with a mixer, the tax rate changes.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Right.
Duty and tax rate changes.
Even if you put the water, then tax will be changed.
So having all those complexities and being able to navigate through them easily is where the systems have got to learn.
What do you think about the Gen AI? What would be your message to the viewer who are seeing, whether it is really disruptive technology, or how you look at that? So what angle you can?
It depends on your audience for that. Really, what we're seeing is a substantial change in how things are viewed, a viewpoint from various audience or various engaged parties or stakeholders. The most significant one is probably the fact that there's a paradigm shift here. Most people want answers, right? But the challenge here is actually not the answer, it's getting the right question.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the pivotal point here is now figuring out how you get the right questions.
That's how the prompt engineering is coming into picture. And I think next couple of years, the prompt engineering, how you prompt to the generative AI, that is crucial. Then getting the answer, because data is already there, and the AI can make the answer for you. But who will ask the question?
Yeah.
So,
who's got the right question, and that becomes more significant. The other part of this is disruption. Most, if you're looking from a corporate perspective, there's this thing called, being a best practice. So a lot of corporations try to get to a point of best practice. In essence, best practice is the norm. It's the normal thing. If you want to be competitive, you can't afford to be normal.
Yes.
And
that's interesting, I realize.
So you've actually got to be, if what you're doing is subnormal, in other words, you're not doing best practice, then best practice is a good place to start. But in essence, what you've got to do if you want to be ahead of everybody else, you've got to be ahead of best practice. You've got to be engaging in being ahead of the curve. And I've always, you have to excuse my language here a little bit, I've believed in the bleeding edge.
Okay.
You talk about leading edge.
Yeah, you believe in the bleeding edge, right?
The bleeding edge, people talk about overnight success. It generally only takes between 8 and 10 years to have an overnight success. Symphony, for example, has been going since 2018. We've been developing this platform. We're only just now getting to the point where we can really onboard significant numbers. And with a platform we know will function and work pretty well. So the overnight success factor is, so if you're looking to be ahead of the game, then you've got to be able to pivot quickly, and you've got to look for inflection points. These are the two things that most entrepreneurs, knowingly or unknowingly, look for. Inflection points are like what happened with Uber, and Uber were around with limousines long before they ever got into the rideshare business. And the thing that made a big difference to them was the fact that the Apple phone came out with a GPS. That was an inflection point. Big change. Inflection points generally happen like paradigm shifts. It'll be a government decides they're going to cut this or build that, and they put money, influence, or something into it, or change laws, or change tax regimes, or change governments completely into some other form. So being able to recognise those things, being able to be ahead of best practice.
Early bird would be, and they will be getting more benefits. The idea is
look towards those bleeding into leading edge stuff. Find an entrepreneur or someone who's got some track record or who's good at recognising things in advance and making sure you've got a reasonable diet of those people testing and teasing you into moving towards better and bigger things. And AI is just one of those things. It really is.
That may be one of the tools or one of the sword to bleed, right?
Yes.
Great. So it was nice talking to you, Grant, and obviously when we'll get chance, we'll have more session like this. So thank you very much for your valuable time for today.
Thanks, Prabhat.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching Top Tier Talk. Stay tuned for more insightful talks with top minds. See you next time.